Hi, today I have with me Miss Janice Lay. She is a blank check trading system student, and we're just going to talk a little bit about her experience with the system and the program, and just get her feedback and some of her advice. Janice, thank you for being with us today. Really appreciate you taking the time. Um,
Ye-
Could we start off with maybe telling us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I live in Broomfield, Colorado, but I've only been here about a month and a half. My husband and I moved from northern Colorado, but now we're real close to the mountains and closer to one of our sons. And he just retired. My husband just retired from a family physician. And I was a financial advisor probably for about 25 years. But about 20 years ago, I had a brainstem hemorrhage, and actually two subsequent um, surgeries on my brain. So that left me with several disabilities, and since that time, I had to give most of my clients away, as I say, and then finally in 2014, I had a few more problems and decided it wasn't fair to my clients, and I did sell the rest of my business. And anyway, that's part of why I was steered towards blank check trading, because I always need a challenge in my life, I guess. But anyway, I'm 68 years old, so I'm an oldie, I guess. And anyway,
Okay. Um,
that's about
so,
all I need to say about me, I guess.
so as a financial trader, were you involved in the trading itself?
Yes, I I worked a lot with mutual funds and financial plans and packaged investments, but I also did stock trading. But I didn't get into the options or um, even covered calls at all. We just did regular stocks and some ETFs and
Okay.
that type of thing. But I was always, in fact, my office when I could drive um, was next door to a commodities broker. So I talked to him quite a bit, but I never did any trading or anything, even though I was intrigued.
Hmm. Okay.
So it was, anyway, I've had a little exposure to the financial business, but um, on on that end too, but I didn't really do any options, although I've heard about them and had to answer some questions on my test, of course.
Okay. So, what was it that appealed to you about the blank check trading stuff when you first heard about it?
Well, I was had started with the Option Genius option trading, the monthly
Mm-hmm.
course, and then I heard through you guys then about the blank check trading, and I was really excited about it. It sounded like it was something where we could maybe make some monthly income and make it maybe faster, and just sounded like it was too good to pass up. It sounded fairly risk adverse, and um, the monthly income, like I said, sounded really good since we were just newly retired, and both of us were interested in that.
Okay.
And so anyway, I just couldn't pass up the chance to give it a try.
Okay. Actually, I do remember, I don't know when this was, but I remember an email from you telling
Uh-huh.
me that you were, you were going to do whatever it took to master this trading stuff. Um,
Yes.
and normally, probably I would say about 80% of our students are men, and probably 20, maybe 10 to 20% are women. And I remember you saying that you were going to do it, you wanted to master it, but your husband was skeptical about that.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so
And
that's
I remember you saying that if I had any problems with it, to talk to you about it, and you'd make sure that I was successful. So
Yep.
you've been very good about helping me. I haven't called you about it, but you've been wonderful and supportive, that's for sure.
Cool. Awesome. Yes. So is he still skeptical?
Not as much, but but he did say he listened to the course with me,
Hmm.
and he's listened to all the coaching calls, and he's watched all the trades, that I've
Hmm.
done, and so that has really, really helped,
Awesome.
because I would say that that was my biggest obstacle to being able to take the course,
Was his, oh, okay. All right.
was his reluctance to it. But um, with him coming along with me on the journey, I think that's helped a lot.
That's awesome. That's
So
awesome that it's something that you guys are doing together. I love that.
yes, yeah.
Cool.
So anyway, that's been a real good thing, even though I do most of it. Why he's involved in all of it, he knows what's happening, and I think that helps a lot.
Cool. Okay. So, so what did you find as a result of actually taking the course? Did you have any kind of revelations or?
The main thing I think that I found out was that I'm very analytical, and I think that I need to know everything about something before I can do it, that I can even start into it.
Hmm.
But I learned through the course that I didn't have to know everything about the oil market. I didn't have to know everything about the commodities market, and I didn't know everything about trading option futures. But there were certain things I really did need to know, and going through the course, you pared it down and tried to let me hone in on what I did need to know and focus on those things. And so I think that's mainly what what I learned, was that it really was something that I thought I could do, that I didn't think I maybe could, because I wouldn't have a chance to learn it all. I have a real hard time reading things. One of the things that was affected were my eyes, and I don't mean to keep coming back to this, but that when you're trying to learn something, it is kind of hard if you can't read like you used to be able to. And so I was just afraid I couldn't put forth the right effort to learn things the way I really like to. But with everybody's help, it's worked out really well.
Oh, wow, that's great to hear. Yeah. So what was your favorite part of the course?
Well, I'm a math major, if you haven't figured that out by now, and so I kind of like the technical part of the course, and just learning how the charting works, and the trend lines, and the support and resistance lines, and how all that really actually does work and plays into what you're going to do, and really helps you, guide you. And yet you don't have to know it specifically. If you don't, if that's not your bag, you probably hone in on something else more. But I really took to that part of it because it started to make more sense to me then.
Cool. Cool. Very nice. Okay. So you've been in the course for a couple months now, I believe. Um,
Yes.
what did you think about the actual material, the course material, the lessons, and the support that was provided?
Okay. Um, the material in the course I thought was quite good. Like I said, I was afraid that it might be so mind-boggling that without a lot of background material, I wasn't going to be able to make sense of it, even though I catch on fairly quickly, I think, but I just thought it might take a lot of extra things that I wasn't going to be able to do. But the course, um, like I said, honed in on the things that you needed to know so that you didn't get so bogged down. And then the Facebook group and your continuous guidance, Alan, has made it really a fantastic experience for me.
Good. I'm happy. I'm happy to hear that. Um,
I don't know
okay.
whether I answered your question.
I think you did. I think you did. Um, let me ask you this something. So if you had a friend or a relative or somebody that you knew that was thinking of getting into the course or thinking of getting started, what would you tell them?
I would definitely tell them to do it. Um, but Alan, I do think there are certain people that are not going to do it. I'm sure you know this, that people jump into it if they say, oh, think that they can make money, but if you don't put forth a little bit of effort, you're not, nobody can make it work for you if you don't do it yourself. But the people that I was thinking of was, I have a sister and brother-in-law who probably 7 years ago went to an options seminar in Denver, and they paid thousands of dollars for it. And they went to several different courses, and after they had done that, then they talked to me, since I was in the finance business, and really wanted me to do it. But it other people have probably had this experience too. Most of the time there's no support afterwards, and it's something that, sure, they can show you what can happen, but that's going to happen how many times, out of 100. So anyway, I think that there are people, but they have to have a realistic view of how they're going to make money. It's not really a get-rich-quick scheme, but you do have to put your own homework into it and be consistent and not fly off the handle on things. You have to, if you follow the guidelines, at least at first, you can make it work.
I definitely, wholeheartedly agree with you. It's definitely not a get-rich-quick scheme.
I,
When it comes to options and in futures, and I mean, there's a ton of ads out there of other products where they tell you, you can make $100,000 or how I turned 10,000 into $5 million and claims like that, and that's not what we're about. We're about hitting the base hits. Getting on base every trade, and eventually, you get on first base, second base, third base. Eventually, you come home, and then those runs, they start adding up, instead of going for the grand slam.
and I found that a lot of people that have tried to go for the Grand Slam, I mean, they just get discouraged, and here they're out $25,000 or so,
Yep. Uh-huh.
And I think you just have to have a way of limiting your risk. But I think, and that's what you do, but the other thing is that the people who are going to be accessible to you, they have to have a little bit of an interest in options or trading or stocks or finance to start with, because I know a lot of people that it wouldn't even appeal to, because they could just say, oh, I can't do that, or whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
they may not give it a try, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, definitely. It's not for everybody.
Hmm.
Um, but someone like you that has a financial background, we have several students that are familiar with options, or there are a lot of people, I guess, that get appealed by those option seminars like the one you mentioned, and I don't know what
Ye-
company it was, but I mean, I've been to those myself where you spend, I think it's like $5,000 up front for a weekend, and
Yes.
then they teach you just enough to be dangerous to yourself. And
Yes.
then if you want more, then it's we have this other course, or we have this coaching program that's another 20 grand, 30 grand. And then they'll teach you some stuff for a few months, and then you're off by yourself again. But it's a very expensive proposition for sure.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
I cringe whenever I hear that story because I've been in those shoes, I've been there, and it's not fun when you spend all that money thinking that you want to make a change for your life, but then you're not given the proper support. You're not given the follow-up enough.
That's right. That's right. And I keep going back to my sister and brother-in-law, but um, they just wanted it to work so much. But I was so glad they didn't go back and buy the system for, I think it was $25,000, Alan. But I think I kind of talked them out of it because I said, you know, what are you going to do with it? And they said, well, they tell you that if you buy the system, it turns blue if you're supposed to do it, or, that you can't go wrong. And so, but they didn't. I think their better sense took over.
Yeah.
At least for now.
Yeah, you'll be surprised how many people that come through our different products have a similar story. Whether
Yes.
it's the blue one or the one I went to was the red arrow and the green arrow. If you
Is that
get
right?
if you get three
Yeah.
red arrows, then you sell it. If you get three green arrows, then you buy. And they do such a great job on the sales pitch. When you go to their seminars, they make it seem so easy, like brain dead simple. But then when you get
Yeah.
started with it, you realize that hey, it doesn't always work out that way. Um,
And when you say three green arrows or three red arrows, that sounds like Las Vegas. Don't you have to get three things on a video, I mean, on one of those machines?
yeah, yeah, the slot machines, right?
That's right. That's
Uh,
right.
so let me ask you, Janice, how has the blank check trade changed things for you?
Well, I may not be like most people, which I guess I'm not, but blank check trading is really, number one, lifted my spirits at a time when I really needed something new and interesting. Um, I really work on my physical self a lot. I have to keep going, but I really feel like it can help Jim and I add some income, and so that makes it of interest to him also. And because of that, he'll give me and us the time to do it. And like I said, it made a difference to me because I always like a mental challenge. And after selling my business, I needed something that was mentally stimulating and yet that served a purpose, and a purpose for both of us. And I guess that's the reason I'm really excited about it.
Great, cool. Okay. So my next question, I think you have a unique perspective on this since you've been, for years you've been dealing with financial matters and trading and advising and whatnot. But when it comes to futures and futures options in particular, a lot of people when they first hear about it, they get basically, they shut themselves down. They're like, no, 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 that's very risky, very dangerous. I don't want to get involved in that. I've heard of somebody who lost a lot of money, or my friend knows somebody who tried it and it didn't work out, and it's too leveraged and too risky, and it's just out of my league. I can't do it. I'm going to stick to my IBM and my Apple's my Apple stock or something like that. So after you've taken the course, how do you feel now about futures and futures options?
Well, I guess I just feel this is completely different. I was just going to say I had, everybody says exactly what you just said. Um, but this course is actually designed to make you succeed. Like I said before, you still have to put forth the effort, but if you will and you get all of the support that you need, I mean, you are just amazing at wanting people to succeed. Um, the course uses futures options in a way that is designed to limit your risk and just uses a narrow part of the futures market without so you don't have to scatter your mind over many, many different parts of the commodities and options. Like I said before, you kind of get rid of all the riffraff and just really put you through to a way that can make you successful. And I think that would help people that otherwise would shy away from it, because it just, you hone it down and show how it can really limit your risk.
Okay, awesome. I got one more question for you.
Okay.
All right. Is there anything else that you think that our listeners should know?
Um, in my experience in the financial world, I've not seen seminars, books, or courses that give as much personal attention, and I guess I've touched on that before, Alan, or specific ways of making this system work for you as this one does. I've already mentioned the unusual type and amount of support that is available through the Facebook and then through your support, Alan. And that's really what makes all the difference and makes all the difference in the world. If you do your part, I think you'll be successful. And that's what makes it different from other things, Alan, is the follow-through. We talked before about the other seminars, and I know before I even started this, I'd gotten a book, and I know there was a gentleman who was a friend of one of my relatives, and he had been selling, he said, to sell options to make monthly income, and he said he was doing really well, and then the next time I talked to him, he wasn't doing well. And then the one sister I mentioned before, she said she knew an elderly gentleman that came into her store a lot, and he was actually making it work. And she said, and I think it was probably something similar to this, but it's something that's hard to do on your own, and it would take, and I think you mentioned that, Alan, before, that this is a result of years and years and years of you working to perfect it, and it's just amazing that you are sharing it with other people.
Wonderful. Well, I appreciate your time today, Janice. It's been very enlightening, and I appreciate you taking the time to answer these questions for us.
You bet. I hope it's of some help, Alan.
I do. I will. I'm sure it will. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.